Well, there, very good afternoon to all our viewers. You're tuned on to the lunchtime edition here from News First. I'm Zola Outskun. Let's start off with a look at our headline-making stories for this afternoon. President highlights the importance of an international task force to control flow of drugs at the UN General Assembly. US Secretary of State comments on Sri Lanka's efforts on reconciliation and economic reform. Suspects arrested in connection with the murder of veteran journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge further remanded until the 29th of this month. And on to our lead story this afternoon, President Maithripala Sirisena addressed the 71st session of the United Nations General Assembly early this morning, Sri Lankan time.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
Sri Lanka
Commencing Sri Lanka's new transitional period, we have given priority to the much required economic and political reforms over the course of the last 20 months, while wiping out the social backdrop which was centered around fear and doubt prevalent before my government came into power. We are in the process of formulating the foundation required for the people of Sri Lanka to lead a happy and free life in democracy. My government's objective is to make Sri Lanka one of the happiest countries in the world to live in. Honorable President, in most nations around the world today, we see societies driven to the point of war, brutality, disharmony and hate. It is at these instances where the need for humanity has become a severe crisis. It is my firm belief that every nation must come together to create a community with fundamentals of humanity to resolve most conflicts prevalent in society. I also believe that the teachings and principles of Buddhism can be used to resolve the issues around the world today. Similarly, the teachings and practices of Christianity, Islam, Hinduism and other religions can be broadened, which requires the blessings of all nations.
Speaking further, President Maithripala Sirisena called on the international community and the United Nations to take stern measures to eradicate the drug menace prevalent around the world.
While making these changes within their respective countries, I would like to draw the attention of the United Nations General Assembly of a severe crisis which is plaguing many other countries in the world as it is in Sri Lanka. This is the issue on drugs, which has caused a severe menace among the society and a tragedy among school children. While drawing the attention of the United Nations of this crisis, I see the need for a much broader and stronger program to be initiated internationally and at national level to wipe out this menace from humanity. Through the experiences we have gained as a country which faced a 30-year-long barbaric war with terrorism, priority has been given to ensure that another war will never break out at any given time in my country, my Sri Lanka, by creating freedom and democracy within the country through a strong foundation of national reconciliation to give birth to a dominant nation. For this process, I kindly request the blessing and assistance of all nations and organizations around the world.
Meanwhile, US Secretary of State John Kerry met with President Maithripala Sirisena today on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, USA. Issuing a communique, the US State Department said that the United States stands with Sri Lanka on strengthening its economy, advancing good governance and ensuring human rights and democratic participation for all of its citizens.
We're happy to meet with President Sirisena. And it's the second time that UNGA we've been able to meet, and we're very encouraged by the steps that the President is taking, Sri Lanka is taking with respect to reconciliation, and they're also making important economic reforms. So the story of Sri Lanka is a great one, and we're really happy to be able to meet. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And yet on to a headline-making story this afternoon. The Army Intelligence Sergeant, who is the chief suspect in the assassination of veteran journalist Lasantha Wickramatunge, has been remanded once again until the 29th of this month. The order was issued earlier today after the suspect was produced before the Mount Lavinia magistrate today. When the case was brought to light, the CID said that a statement was recorded from DIG Vasco Nabordhana after a court order to that effect. Accordingly, the CID added that further investigations into the suspect will be conducted. A decision was reached following a meeting held at the Ministry of Finance yesterday to hand over a 5-acre plot of land attached to the Salava Army camp to rebuild the Salava town following the explosion at the camp earlier this year. The decision was reached following a meeting which was held at the Ministry of Finance with the participation of a number of officers including the Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake, Minister Susil Premajayantha and Minister Anura Priyadarshini. Meanwhile, full compensation has been provided to those whose houses have incurred damages of over 100,000 rupees from the fire. The Sitawaka Divisional Secretariat said that the final round to provide compensation for the individuals who have incurred a loss of over 1 million is yet to be conducted. Meanwhile, the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has entered into a MOU with the Suspicious Transaction Reporting Office of Singapore, or STRO. This is to facilitate the exchange of information related to investigations and prosecutions of money laundering and terrorist financing. A release from the central bank states that money laundering and terrorist financing are internationally connected financial crimes which could threaten the stability of global economic and financial systems. It adds that Sri Lanka has so far entered into MOUs with 32 jurisdictions. In some tragic news this afternoon, an individual died in an accident that took place along the Anuradhapura-Madavachiya main road in Gunava, Rambava. The accident took place when a motor car collided with a motorcyclist. The deceased motorist, aged 65, was a resident of Gunava. The injured was admitted to the Rambava Provincial Hospital, following which he succumbed to his injuries. According to the police, the accident took place as the driver of the motor car was unable to control the speed of the vehicle. The protest staged by 20 inmates of the Anuradhapura prison is continuing for another day today. Commissioner General of Prisons Nisham Den Singh says that the protesters demand that the case filed against them under the Prevention of Terrorism Act be expedited. Cricketer Ramit Rambakwala, who was arrested over an accident that took place in Colombo 7 near Nelumpukana this morning, was released on police bail. Earlier today, police said that his vehicle had crashed into a wall at around 6 this morning. Investigations into the incident are currently underway. Yet another project of the government, the 100-day initiative, which is organized to support the deprived, was vested with the public today.
Government, the 100-day initiative. With the people, for the people.
Villages were severely inconvenienced for 3 years owing to the stagnation of water along the Ganeyaya D13 Canal Road. The construction of the road got underway 2 weeks ago, courtesy of Newsfirst 100-day initiative. The road was declared open at an auspicious time in an atmosphere which was filled with laughter and joy. Financial assistance for the project was rendered by the Sri Lanka Export Credit Insurance Corporation.
මට විතරයි ඒ අටුවද හස ඉවත දමා සැමටම ඉඩ දෙන සැමට සරණ දෙන
The government, the 100-day initiative. With the people, for the people.
And keeping you informed with the latest from the international arena, a state of emergency has been imposed in Charlotte, North Carolina following a string of protests condemning a fatal police shooting of an African American in the area. Gathered around the block of flats where the shooting took place, the protesters said that they would continue with their demonstrations. Keith Lamont Scott, who was shot dead at an apartment complex Tuesday afternoon by a police officer who said Scott was armed and posed a threat. Contrary to the statement made by the police that Keith Lamont was armed, the protesters and Scott's family say that he was unarmed. Some family members and witnesses said that Scott had been holding a book and was waiting for his son to be dropped off from school. Many were outraged by the man's death. The shooting sparked overnight street protests on Tuesday, leaving at least 16 police officers injured, according to the police department. Starting off with some local sports, Dinesh Priyantaherath, who won bronze medal at the Rio Paralympics in the javelin throw event, has been promoted to the rank of sergeant. Army media spokesperson Brigadier Roshan Seniviratne confirmed this to Sport First.
A felicitation ceremony was held for Dinesh Priyantha in Colombo yesterday. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Minister of Sports Dayasiri Jayasekara, a group of high-ranking officials of the army were present at the occasion.
I only saw my wife, my mother and my 2 children for 4 days. That is how intense the training was. That is the sort of dedication I showed. The hard work paid off at the 2016 Paralympic Games.
Dinesh Priyantha and his coach were granted cash prizes at the event. Meanwhile, speaking at the occasion, Minister of Sports Dayasiri Jayasekara said that the 2020 Paralympic Games should be the next goal for the Sri Lankan Paralympic athlete.
Well, on that note, we wrap up this edition of Lunchtime News. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm Zola Outscoon, but remember that you could keep abreast of the latest and trending stories on our award-winning website simply by typing www.newsfirst.lk. Take care.